Every child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
What's on your to-do list? Check your mail? Get groceries? How about getting your annual vaccines? We can help you check that off.
You've got this.
Yes, you do. Because we've got you. With local vaccine events and access to transportation, protecting yourself and your loved ones is not a chore anymore.
You've got this.
A message from the Aging and Disability Vaccination Collaborative, powered by U.S. Aging. Funded by the U.S. Administration for Community Living through a grant to U.S. Aging. Learn more at yougotthis.usaging.org.
Tune into the Tom Hartman radio program, your home for news, opinion, and insight, right here on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Chinese students are calling the latest measure to revoke their visas the Chinese Exclusion Act. AP's Charles de Ledesma has more.
20-year-old art student Deng Jiafei tells the AP it's not a good thing that the US is refusing foreign students the opportunity to study there because, she says, international students represent the cultural exchange between countries. Jiafei's concerned that, if implemented, there may be more negative policies to follow. A postdoctoral student studying industrial safety, Zhang Qi, adds that the move would hurt US institutions more than Chinese ones. Chinese students have seen rising rejection rates for visas in recent years amid strained US-China relations, while Hong Kong says it would welcome students from all over who've been impacted by the US's changing policies. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
South Korea's Navy has reported all 4 crew members that were aboard a Navy plane were killed after it crashed during a training flight. The Navy's P-3s were temporarily grounded. The Navy says it's still unknown why the P-3 patrol plane crashed. The U.S. flag has been hoisted outside of the long-shuttered ambassador's residence in Damascus. Syria's state-run news agency reported that the U.S. ambassador to Turkey and special envoy to Syria, Tom Barrack, arrived to inaugurate the residence. Washington has not formally reopened its embassy in Syria's capital, which closed in 2012, but Barrack's visit and the raising of the flag is a sign of growing ties between the U.S. and the new Syrian government. Israel says it will authorize 22 Jewish settlements in the occupied West Bank. That includes new ones and the legalization of outposts already built without government authorization. Most of the international community views settlements as illegal and an obstacle to resolving the decades-old conflict. This is AP News. AP correspondent Donna Warder reports on the Trump administration's cancellation of some flu research for one drug company.
The Trump administration has canceled a $766 million award to drug maker Moderna to develop a vaccine against potential pandemic influenza viruses. Moderna says it was notified Wednesday that Health and Human Services had withdrawn funds to pay for development and purchase of such an investigational vaccine that would include H5N1 bird flu. It would be an mRNA vaccine using the same technology that allowed its development of vaccines to fight COVID-19. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has expressed deep skepticism regarding mRNA vaccines, but there's real-world evidence that the vaccines are safe and have saved millions of lives. Moderna had just announced positive interim results from an early-stage trial of the vaccine that targeted H5 bird flu virus.
I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, becoming partly sunny, we'll have high temperatures climbing up into the lower 70s. We'll have our winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, we'll drop back to a low of 52. For Friday, a mixture of clouds and sunshine, chance for some scattered afternoon showers and storms up to 77. Then lots of sunshine for your Saturday, mid-70s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 54.
Barbecue season is back.
Hey, it's Ellen.
And this is Sarah Beth.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is that zesty barbecue sauce. I love that it was a little sweet, a little tangy, and with the mac and cheese,
I feel like I tasted the brown sugar bacon first. It was the absolute best combination. Pro tip, 3 sandwiches are always better than 1.
Order the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich and our Coca-Cola on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Thursday morning, progressives, and welcome to the May 29th. We're almost at the end of the month. Wow. Edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and, of course, YouTube and iHeartRadio is where you can find us and find me. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com. Catch me on Substack. Just dropped a new little update there. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That's right. There you can get the Choose Views short versions and long versions of interviews that I've done. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez. Had a chance to see Patty yesterday. She's always great. The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath. Out Chicago and our other shows and interviews. That's the place to go because, as you guys hear me say all the time, we post really, really good stuff at where? HeartlandSignal.com. Really good information. Right now, currently, we've got a really good Heartland Signal on X from the folks out of Texas. One of the state reps, James Tallarico, going after the folks in the state legislature for wanting to force the 10 Commandments in public schools. That's a good clip that you guys will want to check out. Also, on Heartland Signal X, we've got a great clip from our own Sean Caston reacting to the GOP bill. That was an interview that he actually did, a conversation with Edwin Eisendrath, so you'll want to check that out. And one of the constituents at a town hall for Representative Mike Flood, Republican Representative Mike Flood of Nebraska, talking about how upset he is about the GOP bill, and basically yelling at him to tell him that you're making it worse. So 3 really good clips that you'll want to go and catch a view over at Heartland Signal on X. So make sure you make your way over there. Meanwhile, we want you to check this out, progressives.
My daughter said, "Did you teach Jay-Z?" I said, "Who's Jay-Z? This is so long ago."
I had a 6th grade teacher. Her name was Miss Loudon. And I just loved the class so much.
Oh, Sean Carter, my little Sean. He was a skinny little kid. I knew he was extremely bright, but he was quiet. And one of the things that I talk about is he never smiled. That was when his father had left and all that. And he never smiled.
Like reading the dictionary and just my love of words, right? I just connected with her.
He's been very kind. He's been very kind, and I think he's giving me more credit, but I'll take it. Every famous person has a teacher who probably influenced them, and I wish they would all shout out the way Jay-Z did. But I'm glad he appreciates the dictionary lessons that I gave, because that was my favorite thing to do. Kids should feel, I mean, my husband's concept was feeling safe in a classroom, and that's empowering them. If they could feel safe, if we can teach teachers how to teach this sanctuary concept where kids will feel safe, boy, can they learn. I think that also happened with Jay-Z. He scored 12th grade on the reading test in the 6th grade. And I remember telling him, and he talks about that a lot, and I said, you're smart. You better do something with that. That's why he's famous, because I told him to do that. When you're told you're smart, you believe it. I would like to see education get money. I used to buy kids books. I used to buy them pencils. Teachers should not have to buy this stuff.
We need to pay our teachers more.
There it is. Yesterday, I talked so much about the importance of education and the importance of making sure that we have that foundation in place with our children. And I came across this clip yesterday, and I thought, you know, this is something that I want to lean into a little bit this morning. And our educational system has its flaws in terms of public and private schools, to be honest, on a K through 12 level. They both have their flaws. But at the end of the day, maybe at part of the end of the day, on our way to the end of the day, we shouldn't be tearing down our educational system to its core, to its studs, if you will. We should be finding ways to make our educational system better, not getting rid of the Department of Education on any level, on a state level, on a city level, state level, and certainly on a federal level. It's too important to the foundation of who we are as a society. Jay-Z went to public school, and because of a teacher giving him the inspiration, letting him know he's smart, he got it. Look what's happened. I might be able to tell you one Jay-Z song, maybe on a good day. If it played, I might go, oh, that's Jay-Z. But that's not the point. It's what he's represented, what he's gone on to do, and change his life and change lives of millions of people thanks, Henry, because of his music, but also because of the lives that he's impacted because of his business acumen and the things that he's done in that space and the people he's been able to partner with. In many ways, because of a teacher had the patience, the desire, it sounds like a partner and her husband, Miss Loudon, that was there to guide the students. We should be throwing money at improving our educational systems like nobody's business. I've said this for years, and a lot of people have criticized me for it, but I'm going to keep saying it. Our military budget is bloated. If there's waste, fraud, and abuse somewhere, it's there. But because we're the big bully, we got to have all these protection tools around us. And yeah, I know we help other countries. Listen, don't get your undies in a bundle about Richard doesn't understand. We've got to take. I know where we stand when it comes to our military budget. My point is, by comparison to what would be the most, I think, a far more effective tool for defense. And let me be more specific. Maybe our defense, I'll lean into the defense budget. Our military budget, we should be paying our servicemen and women more money, not having crazy weapons. But let me stay on the point about education. At the end of that clip, Jay-Z says we should pay our teachers more money. And that's true. Our public school educators or our K through 12 educators should be paid more. It's a broad statement. I'm making a broad brush statement by design. Because in terms of building the foundation of a stronger America, it starts with making sure that our children can eat, go to school, and learn. You know, we get pushback. Governors like Tim Walz gets pushback from folks on the right about having a food program so that children can eat. One of our guests on our show, Dan Summons, who's the managing director of Blessings in a Backpack, so the children go home and not hungry on the weekends. And the list goes on of the programs that are out there to do that, to fill that void. Well, doggone it, our federal government, our state governments should have to step up and make sure. And right now, the federal government is a part of our system that is taking away the values of education in terms of funding and reducing opportunity. So when I hear a story like this, or I hear a clip like that, and I didn't know that about Jay-Z. I didn't know that. I had no clue. But I think what's important, part of what's important in this space is that we highlight it, and then we make sure that people are aware that education, and we sometimes we get caught up in this, who's getting the money and this, that, and the other, which school systems are getting the money. Ultimately, on our way to the end of the day, we have to make sure that all of our school systems are funded not only properly, but in a long-term way. And some of the systems right here in Chicago and in the state of Illinois, and there are other states, red and blue, that have issues when it comes to funding their state education, their public education system. It ain't just in Illinois or in Chicago. There are red states and blue states that are all faced with this challenge. But it shouldn't be a challenge that we start taking things away from it in a guise of trying to make it better. That doesn't make any sense to me. And that's why, again, at the end of the clip, Jay-Z says that teachers need to be paid more. And that's true. But in addition to teachers being paid more, and listen, there's people out there who in their brains right now, Henry, they're going, yeah, but if they're not good teachers, they shouldn't. Okay, go ahead and go on, have your own little, race down that path. I'm not going to follow you. The broad conversation is let's do a better job of making sure they're paid more, and at the same time, make sure that we have schools funded for better educational systems for our children. Our Department of Education being cut down to the core is not a way to get there, because there's no conversation around how do we make it better. It's just let's cut. And I'm not an expert in education, believe me, I'm not. In terms of running an educational system, I'm not trying to put that cape on. I'm saying that when you hear stories like this, you have to recognize the importance of being able to keep our teachers well paid, keep our students safe, provide. Why would we spend money, Henry, on tools to make schools more gun safe? No. That's a waste of energy and resources. Let's put more into our educational system. All right, guys, we are going to take a little bit of a break. Today's show, we have the great Michelle Peltier, one of the co-hosts of the Family Meeting, will be with us in the 7 o'clock hour with Moments with Michelle. And guess what, guys? Today is that day that we have Mayor-elect of Omaha, Nebraska, John Ewing, will be with us in the 7:30 hour. I am very excited about talking with that gentleman. And Michelle is going to bring us some conversation that you'll all want to hear. The number, of course, is 773-763-9278. That is the Credo mobile phone and text line. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
WCPT 20th Anniversary Replay 2019.
Hi, I am Joan Esposito, and I want to say it's an honor to be here. WCPT AM 820 is a place where people learn to talk about the things that matter. They learn about one another, and I am so happy to be a part of that. We are a progressive station, but I want you all to know that I welcome all points of view as long as we're civil and respectful. Different points of view can be entertained, but rudeness will not be. We can have honest discussions, we can ask tough questions, and maybe learn a little bit about our neighbors. So I hope you'll join me. I hope you will join me for this journey that kicks off today. I want to have some fun. I want to learn about you. I also want to talk to the people who are involved in the arts and cultural communities in Chicago.
Listening to WCPT 820. Because facts matter.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views. One more comment I want to make about the Jay-Z clip and his teacher, Miss Loudon. I had a number of teachers that were in that vein, and public school kid, me, like so many of us are. And I remember one of the teachers that she had just an incredible impact on me in a moment that I didn't even expect. Mrs. Bergeson, I've told this story to friends of mine over the years. Mrs. Bergeson was my American and English lit teacher. She was 6 feet tall, so she commanded that room. And I thought she was so cool. Just, old school teacher, smart as a whip, and very perceptive. So she would, come to our basketball games. She liked basketball. That was her sport. She didn't football, baseball, weren't her things, and volleyball, but basketball was. So one Monday morning after a basketball game, a doubleheader, a Friday, Saturday, back-to-back home games. That was like, that was golden when you had back-to-back home games. Mrs. Bergeson was not afraid to call you out in class, but in a way that was productive. So someone said to me that, Richard, that was a great game on Saturday night. You guys were, and I was like, yeah, thanks, blah, blah, blah. And Mrs. Bergeson said, yes, but Mr. Chu, you could play a little bit better defense. And I was shook, Henry. But she was right. Most importantly, she was right. And after class, she came up to me, she said, listen, I meant that because I want you to, I know you can play better defense. I've watched you guys practice. That's the kind of teacher she was. So from that point forward, guess who played better defense? Me. But here's the other rub about that. Mrs. Bergeson also was that teacher that would pull me aside and say, listen, this is where you can go with this. This is what I want you to be able to do better as a student. And what it was about planning. It was about organizing your thoughts and organizing the work that you do. And it was a lesson that was it was one of those things where a teacher could see certain things that you couldn't see just yet. And she said, this is something that I think you really want to embrace. Okay, fast forward. That was that thing where I went, okay, better organization. Try to, lay out your thoughts and so forth a little bit better. Fast forward, I graduated, I go off to college, and after my second year of college, I came home, and Mrs. Bergeson heard through some friends that I was going to be, in town, and she asked me if I'd come by and speak to some of her students. Talk about full circle. So I did. And I told them, I said, listen to this lady. She knows what she's talking about. I'm a sophomore in college. What do I know? But she asked me to speak to her students, and I did. And I said, listen to her. She knows what she's talking about. And she's going to push you. I even said, I remember saying, she may embarrass you in front of the rest of the class, but it'll probably be to your good. It's not something she's just doing to embarrass you. So teachers, guys, education, having those foundational people in your lives. Just wanted to share that little story because I have my, kind of my own little version of JC's story about a great teacher. All right, guys, today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be joined by Jans Ludwig, author of the new book, Unforgiving Places, The Unexpected Origins of American Gun Violence. Maria Inez Zamindo, reporter for ProPublica. That's a lot to say in one sentence, along with Dana Brozos-Kelleher, investigative journalist at the Invisible Institute focused on police accountability and criminal justice issues. I could read that 5 times and still bubble it up. Deja Fox, Democratic candidate running in July's 15th special U.S. House election to represent Arizona's 7th congressional district, and that's to see for the late Representative Raul Gravalla. Heartland Signal Rich Eberwine with 3 stories you may have missed from our digital newsroom. Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 Central here on WCPT, Chicago's Progressive Talk for 20 years. Make sure you tune in to Joan. And then Patty tonight, driving it home, we'll be talking to Dr. Kathy Tynas, internist at Alivo Health Services, Dan Hornig, former deputy for the National Economic Council under former President Joe Biden. Driving it home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 p.m. Central here on WCPT, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Tomorrow on this show, guys, can't wait. Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics will be with us. Sarah Jones, managing editor and co-publisher of Politicus USA. And someone else I'm super excited about interviewing tomorrow is David Jolly, former member of Congress, political analyst, author, and founder of Florida 26 Political Committee. He is going to be running for governor in Florida. So I'm excited about chatting with him tomorrow. So you'll want to tune in for those three great guests. All right, Henry, let's bring him a couple of Choose Views news items. Excuse me, guys. On this May 29th, 2025, retailers are bracing for the impacts of tariffs. What does that mean? The administration's brewing trade war is starting to impact major retailers, though in many different ways. And we got something more to talk about that with regard to what the courts have done. Macy's on Wednesday, yesterday, slashed its full year profit guidance, as did Abercrombie & Fitch, though that chain also raised its full year sales guidance. Shares of the clothing retailers surged more than 25% at one point during the news cycle. Meanwhile, stores like Dick's Sporting Goods, which recently announced its acquisition of Foot Locker, maintained its outlook for the year and beat expectations on sales for the last quarter. All right. Rising rates don't deter home buyers. Mortgage rates kept climbing last week, reaching the highest level since January. But home buyers seemed undaunted as the average interest rate for 30-year fixed-rate mortgages increased from 6.92% to 6.98% week over week. Mortgage applications to purchase a home declined 2%. All right. The Fed is urging patience, as we figured this would be the case, as they are set to continue holding off on interest rate changes amid the heightened economic uncertainty and rising inflation risk. According to newly released minutes from the group's last meeting, the Fed officials advised a cautious approach until the net economic impacts of the array of changes to the government's policies become clearer. And also at that meeting, which took place earlier this month, prior to the temporary raisings of trade tensions between the U.S. and China, they're asking for a little patience. Okay, we'll see what that means. Did you guys see that SpaceX experienced another mishap? Their ninth test flight of its 400-foot-tall Star rocket, a spacecraft designed one day to carry humans to Mars. High-stakes launch began smoothly, but the upper stage of the craft encountered a leak in its fuel system while in orbit, which caused the mega rocket to spin uncontrollably and break apart before re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. Sounds like a Tesla in the sky. GM, this is an interesting one that I found as it relates to the conversation around EVs. They're pulling, General Motors is pulling a U-turn on electric vehicle production, dedicating an upstate New York plant instead to building its new V8 engines. Amid slowing EV sales, GM will pour $888 million into the Tonawanda plant instead of the $300 million it had earmarked for EV production there 2 years ago. The facility will make its sixth generation of V8 engines used in more fuel-efficient sized trucks and SUVs. Yeah, so interesting. And then last but not least, AI. Will it kill jobs? Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei has warned that artificial intelligence could kill half of all entry-level white-collar jobs, and sooner than predicted. In a new interview with Axios, Amodei predicts that the technology could raise the unemployment rate as high as 20% within 5 years. AI companies, quote, have a duty and an obligation to be honest with what is coming, he says, so that they and governments can adequately prepare for the changes. There you go, guys. A couple of Choose Views news items on this Thursday, May 29th, 2025. There you go. Henry, let's take a tiny little break. When we come back, guys, we're going to hit you with a few items that are happening and a few clips that I think are going to be relevant to what this administration is doing to our economy, and also some conversations around tariffs. The number is 773-763-9278. That's a Credo mobile phone and text line, and we'll be right back.
With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new Care Watch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The Care Watch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. The Care Watch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. Call us to get your Care Watch right now.
800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. That's 800-741-5819.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, becoming partly sunny, we'll have high temperatures climbing up into the lower 70s. We'll have our winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, we'll drop back to a low of 52. For Friday, a mixture of clouds and sunshine, chance for some scattered afternoon showers and storms up to 77. Then lots of sunshine for your Saturday, mid-70s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 55.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
You're listening to Choose View with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey guys, tonight at 8 p.m., don't miss the Politics Bar, the new show hosted by Jody Hamilton of Stephanie Miller's Show fame and Sean Smith Pierce, former executive producer of the Randy Rhoads Show. Pull up a chair, grab something to drink, and they'll get you up to speed on the news of the day. For fans of the Gailey Show, you can now catch it at 5 a.m. Tuesday through Saturday. Same show, new time. There you go. So, what do I want to bring to you, wonderful folks? One of the conversations that I think has been really, I don't know how you'd really want to say this, but Medicare and Medicaid it can be complicated in understanding, one, the difference between the two, which parts of our government, allocate and run and allocate the funds in those two different services and systems. But we had an interesting clip from an individual that basically was saying these are the things that are going to happen and how the numbers are going to apply. And I'll read this to you first, and then we'll go to this very quick clip. That this is part of what the tax bill, the Republican tax bill, and I read this last week, but I've had some people that have asked me to kind of read it again, what class warfare looks like. $300 billion in food assistance cuts, $500 billion in Medicare cuts, $800 billion in Medicaid cuts, and $350 billion in Affordable Care Act cuts to fund the $3 trillion in tax breaks for millionaires and billionaires and big companies that are actually not trickling down that largesse to everyday folks. But we're going to go to a quick clip that I want you guys to hear on Medicare and Medicaid changes.
Today, I present to you the Cabinet of Meritocracy. Let's begin, shall we? First up.
We're going to go to a quick clip that I want you guys to hear on Medicare and Medicaid changes. Not a problem. All right. That one is some gremlin got into the system and grabbed that one from us. But the numbers are staggering, and we've been anticipating this for a while. But at the end of the day, so many people who have been following this that are talking about the numbers have actually said that they're not only is it the cuts, and I think this is where I kind of go with this. And I think I've talked about this before. The cuts are massive, but what's really a big deal is that this is where I can say there's a little bit of trickle down. And what do I mean by that? It's what happens in the particular markets, not markets, but the communities that people live in when it comes to how folks are going to have to be paying for things. For example, when I've said this before, you have a family whose parent or someone in their family may have maybe receiving either a Medicare or Medicare benefit, or there is a payment that's made. If those go away, it puts a bigger strain on that family to potentially have to make up for things that were once covered through these programs And so that to me is part of the conversation that I think, maybe a little bit more depth of conversation needs to be had by those who are experts in the field, and to break it down and I think show more of the specifics, personal, here's how it's going to affect you, or here's how it will affect the community. I've said this before, this is where, from a messaging standpoint, I believe the Democratic Party has huge opportunity. And to just say broadly that, there's going to be X amount of money taken out of food assistance in terms of SNAP or out of Medicare and Medicaid, that's great that we identify it. But it's also, I think, important that we break that down and show in specific areas how these cuts are going to impact people. Because when you talk about it from that perspective, then I think, I'm pretty certain, then that a person of any community, whether they be in a red community or in a blue community, large, medium, or small, that those folks are going to hear that message. They're going to hear that sort of breaking down and more detailed conversation around it. These cuts are talk about discrimination. These cuts are not discriminating necessarily. There are communities that are going to be more impacted by it. We know that. But they are going to be red, blue, and everything in the middle. What I've said before, and this is my point I'm making, about the impact in a community. You could have a middle-class family that has a member of their family that is a recipient of Medicare or recipient of the benefits of Medicare and Medicaid programs. And when those go away, that suddenly can put a burden on that middle-class or even upper-middle-class family. That's the conversation that I believe more and more has to be had by us as progressives, liberals, Democrats, independents in this conversation. That's kind of how I see it. Any success? Okay, cool. We've got it. The Gremlins let go of the clip that we had, so we're gonna just a quick one that we had that kind of breaks this conversation down a little bit more.
Why are you not going to see a difference in your paycheck when they cut Medicare? It would make sense and it would be appropriate, but that's not happening. The Medicare cuts are part of what's called sequestration. So if Congress ends a session having spent more money than it's brought in, we are required to trigger cuts to some mandatory spending programs. Medicaid and some veterans programs are exempt, Medicare is not. So that's why this bill is going to cut Medicare funding. But you won't see a difference in your paycheck because we are making all of these cuts happen so that we can fund the tax cuts to the wealthy. So if you're a person who gets a W-2 paycheck, you are not seeing benefits from these tax cuts. These are for very, very wealthy people. So that's it. It is quite literally a transfer of wealth. And actually, the biggest transfer of wealth from the poor to the wealthy in American history. This isn't a situation where we're cutting Medicare to decrease costs. We're cutting Medicare to decrease the costs of Medicare so that we can pay for giving more money, literally handing more money to wealthy people, the top 10% earners in the U.S. So you will be getting fewer services despite the fact that you are paying the same amount of money into Medicare. You might as well take out your checkbook, if you're old enough to remember what those are like. You might as well Venmo Mark Zuckerberg $200 a month.
That last part is a real good description of this transfer. Remember Henry, during the Obama administration, and it's been probably a conversation going further back than that, but my immediate brain takes it back to the Obama administration when we talked about, when so many people on the right were talking about, we can't make these changes because it's a transfer of wealth. And it's taking wealth from wealthy people, taking wealth from wealthy people, taking money from wealthy people, and redistributing that to others who haven't worked as hard and haven't pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and all the rest, and giving it to them, and they don't deserve it because they haven't earned it, and so forth and so on. That's what the defense of not raising taxes has been for years on the higher income earners and higher wealth holders. And that was the defense. It's about redistribution of wealth. And it's not. It is let me say this first thing before I go down that path. This is a true redistribution of resources. It's saying that for us to be able to provide a thank you to our, and who is us, the GOP, the Republicans in the House of Representatives first, and then those in the Senate, and many state legislatures as well. Let's not make our friends unhappy who helped get us into office by the checks that they wrote. Let's make sure that they're happy by not giving a darn about everyday Americans and redistributing resources from the federal government, which then forces the states to have to redistribute or realign their budgets. And I've been saying this so long about why it's important that not only do you reach out to your senators about this bill, but you reach out to your governors and your lieutenant governors and AGs and comptrollers. Let them know, if you're in a blue state, that you're there watching and you're aware and what can be done to help. If you're in a red state, let them know that they need to be reaching out to those senators as well to say no to this bill. So that's why I wanted you guys to hear this clip. I wanted you to understand, when people talk about Medicare and Medicaid, it's not like there's going to be a reduction in what's in their, literally in their paycheck. It is a reduction of the benefits that go to communities. And I'm giving you a 10,000-foot breakdown. Many of you know how it works, but it's really so that you don't get caught up in the conversation about cuts to Medicaid. It's not reducing somebody's specific paycheck. It's reducing the benefits that go to programs that help ease the cost for people who may have to pay out of pocket for care for those who may need those benefits. And to that end, when those benefits are not there, it's a double dip. The benefits are not there, so people then do have to pay more out of their paycheck. And at the same time, that money that they would have gotten as a better tax break goes to, those tax breaks go to folks that, quote unquote, don't need them. Or, as we said last week, we broke down the numbers of what people will receive in certain income levels in terms of this, their tax credit going forward. Not necessary. The data is there to back that up. And again, that's why I wanted you guys to have a quick listen to that clip. Also, in terms of where we are, I've been talking about this for a few days now in terms of the insanity that comes with universities and education. And the last 2 days I've talked about that on a K through 12 level, but also what's happening with our colleges. And we have a segment that we did as a pre-record. We'll be talking with a couple of professors from University of Buffalo and from Kent State that will be airing for you in the next couple of days. But getting into the conversation around universities striking back and fighting back. Harvard's been in the news. We know that. We've seen it. We've heard it. And we've been making a point of trying to talk about it in a way that hopes that the universities come together and create the pact that was discussed a few weeks back. And I'm hoping that they find a way to do this on a national level, certainly on a state level. There's huge opportunities. But individually, Harvard University has made it clear that, they're going to strike back. They're going to fight back in a way that that says to the federal government, we're doing everything we can to make sure that our university continues to move forward and that continues to provide the educational tools to our students, even if the federal government is, going to try to get in the way of that. So one of the clips that we were able to put together, and I hope we have this one, Henry, Harvard Strikes Back. I think we do. Yeah, we'll probably get to that one in a second. Henry's navigating a couple different things. Do we have the Harvard Strikes Back clip handy? Yeah, but it's a really good clip that says this is what Harvard decided they were going to do, and make sure that that the folks who are out there are aware that they're not going to take this laying down. So let's check this one out.
You can't even make this up. If you want to hear how Harvard has responded to the most recent threat by this administration, come on up to the front. We know that the U.S. Constitution shapes the daily lives of every single individual within the United States. Daylight of the recent threats by the administration, Harvard University is now offering a free online course that does a deep dive into the American Constitution. Let's talk about it. That's right. Harvard is offering a free course to anyone on the American government and the constitutional foundations. If you're anything like me, you're going to take the course. So let's meet our professor. Professor Thomas Patterson. He's the Bradley Professor of Government and Press at Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government. Some of the courses that he teaches at Harvard are American government, political institutions, and public policy. It is said that you only need to offer up 2 to 4 hours a week for this free course that is being offered by Harvard University. Just 4 weeks, Professor Patterson is going to be walking us through what limited power actually looks like in the United States, how power is divided in the United States, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and some big Supreme Court cases that go along with all of those. This course is going to be a wonderful tool to help people understand the origin of the U.S. government, civil liberties and rights, as well as federal power versus state power. I have linked the edx.org link in my comment section. So head on over, get signed up today. Look out, Harvard. Here comes Miss B.
If you guys want that clip to be able to go and sign up, just send me an email and I'll get it to you. But what's important about it is 2 things. One, Harvard's fighting back in that regard. And they're doing it in a way that speaks to something that's important to everybody, and that's the Constitution. So I think that as universities are in the sights, unfortunately, of what the Trump administration is doing with regard to funding, and just trash talking the universities. I mean, get out of the business of trash talking the universities and get down to the business of lowering the price of eggs and gas, which he hasn't done, or stopping the war in Ukraine. Leave those universities alone, Donald Trump. You know, and whether it's accurate or not, or speculative or not, that part of the reason that he's going after Harvard is because of the fact that his son Barron didn't get accepted. Whether that is or is not the case, if it is the case, then, those of you on, this is the part that's the hypocrisy that I mentioned yesterday about elite in education and schools. If that's the case, and the folks on the right that got so upset about the elites and the Northeastern elites and the educational elites and all that, if in fact Donald Trump is going after Harvard in part because of his son not getting accepted to this elite school, then the hypocrisy of those who are supporting him is right there in the open. You're going to still support the dude that wants to send his son to an elite school, which he should. Anybody would want to, or any college. But you're blaming the elites for the problems that are in our country. There's a lot of hypocrisy there, if in fact that's part of the reason why. Whether it is or isn't, just think about that, MAGA. And then ask yourself, why do we keep trying to dodge around the fact that we really didn't vote for him because of any of his economic policies? And like I said yesterday at the end of the show, the clip that we played, you really didn't vote for Trump. You voted for those who are the architects of Project 2025 and the folks that are part of the Heritage Foundation and the work that they've done to write on Project 2025. And like Vice President Harris said, can you believe they actually put it in writing and they put it out there? All right, guys, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we've got a couple more things we're going to say about tariffs and about Trump and his inability to keep things stable. You'll see what I mean when we get back. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and that's the Credo mobile phone and text line. We'll be right back.
Save big on everything for your next project at Menards. From hitches to ratchet straps and everything in between, we've got all your hauling needs covered. Tow smarter with a Tow Smart ball mount trailer hitch. It's built with durable steel construction that resists rust and corrosion. On sale now through June 1st. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for more great deals happening this week.
Save big money at Menards.
The following is furnished by Excel Media Pros. Are you battling addiction? Call Rehabs America for a free consultation. Drugs and alcohol can destroy your life. Our program offers a complete medical detox plus inpatient drug and alcohol treatment. Your insurance may cover 100% of treatment. Many have already completed our program and are living substance-free lives. Call for your free consultation now. 800-210-5811. That's 800-210-5811. Hope is one phone call away. Call 800-210-5811.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
It's Chew's Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to the show. Listen, I know a lot of folks out there are progressive. Some are progressive, more independent, but they follow what we do. So I want to make sure, we're a progressive station, progressive talk. Facts matter. But we know there's a lot of folks that listen to all of our shows that are independents and are, they're going to navigate from the middle more often. They lean toward the left, but we recognize that. So we want to make sure that folks realize that our independent voters and folks that are out there that are listening, there's a place for you here too. Don't think that we're just talking to progressives. We're trying to talk to everybody, candidly, and that I want to kind of add into the language with our show each day. As progressive, we are progressive liberal Democrats, and independents oftentimes they fall in our direction because they recognize that the policies that come from Democrats, from progressives, tend to be more favoring all Americans. So independents, we got a spot for you too. We got a seat for you as well. Don't feel like we're leaving you out. Let's go to our man, Al, in Franklin Park. Henry, good morning, Al, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. Good to talk to you.
You too. What's going on?
Well, you mentioned AI and how it's going to be affecting us. And I have some knowledge. I'm trying to learn AI, like the Northwest Suburban Indivisible Group has been doing some classes just on using it. And one of the things that they said in that class was that, they go to some of the conservative meetings, and the first things they did is they went, and they were telling them some of the things that are going to be in this big, beautiful bill, and they went and said, "Oh, let me verify that with Grok." So they are already starting to use the Grok, which is in the conservative bubble, which we already know gives wrong information in several cases. So it's just another thing we really got to be paying attention to try to figure out how to get around their media bubble, because it's growing and it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, the good point, Alan. And this is where we have to be all willing to dig a little bit deeper, all willing to go that next step to see. It's easy to go down the rabbit hole. So I say that with the care of having brakes on when you go down a particular search, or you do go and search a particular thing. Excuse me, guys. My point is that we all need to be willing to dig a little deeper, particularly with this tool that's out there, broadly known as AI, and be mindful of what you're reading and seeing, to make sure that what you're reading and seeing, first and foremost, does this make any sense? Have the humbleness in our own minds to say, does this make sense? Be willing to ask yourself, does this make any sense, Henry? Does this measure up? Start there. It's okay to self-check, and then come back and go, okay, now let me do a little bit more deeper digging.
And at one point I had to make it, I almost forgot, was that they have something in this big, beautiful bill saying that AI is going to be unregulated for 10 years.
Well, what they're doing, and to that point, Al, thanks for bringing that up. The detail on this is that the bill will potentially override state laws when it comes to regulation, and basically create the ability for the federal government to regulate states when it comes to states regulating AI in that state. So for me, the hypocrisy of this is, what about states' rights? What about states' rights? But it goes back to what you said, though, Al, and that is, how is this going to then flood the zone of it with information that's inaccurate if we can't regulate the information?
Yeah, because they're already flooding the zone. I'm big on media and trying to figure out how to get around the conservative media. And so it is just one more way, and something we got to pay attention to. Like I was saying, you were asking what the Democrats need to do, and another one is AI. And the other one is paying attention to the internet engine and how it works, and find ways to smartly compete against the monster media machine, I call it.
Yeah, thanks, Al. Appreciate your call. Appreciate your contribution. Thanks so much.
Sure.
All right, man. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Yeah, you got it. I believe it's critically important to dig deep, to keep looking to see what's out there inside of this messaging machine that we have. I mean, this is why I do my best to clean up on aisle 7 when I feel like I made a mistake or said something that I need to go back and do a little bit more research on. Okay, so there are many people that have, I guess, observations about, how many times have I said this? How many times have I said that the instability of Donald Trump, his inability to navigate with any sort of fluidity and smoothness doesn't exist? And maybe it's of his nature. I don't know, and I'm not trying to play psychologist or psychiatrist or sociologist when it comes to him. But one thing is for sure, and that is the markets have definitely spoken up and said, we don't like instability. And there was a really great clip that Henry and I put together from Stephanie Rule from MSNBC that talks about this instability and how it's causing so much chaos. And it made the mainstream press conferences as well, this new label that Donald Trump has. But we've got a great clip that we want you guys to hear before we go to this next break.
Let's level set. If you talk to businesses, big or small, they cannot predict what Trump will do next. But one thing has remained constant. When he makes a tariff announcement, markets tank. When he scales back tariffs, markets soar. There's even a nickname for it now, as coined by the Financial Times, the taco trade, short for Trump always chickens out. And consumer sentiment tracks those exact patterns. When people feel like the tariffs are coming, they worry. When they think that Trump's not going to go for it, they're happy. Now, for investors and market makers, it's actually a different story. They can trade around these announcements, right? Volatility means volume. But for businesses, this is paralyzing at best and crippling at worst. And here's what's interesting. Those close to his team have told me that Trump, in his heart of hearts, doesn't actually mind the market reaction when it's bad. In fact, he enjoys the power and influence he has over global markets. One single sentence, one post, one tweet erases or creates tens of billions, which is why so many are now asking if and who is given advance warning on any of these massive market moving events. The answer for now, we do not know. But we and the rest of the world are going to keep watching.
Yeah, we are, and I tie this all to the chaos, head of labeling. The chaos works for him because it allows him to not have to know anything. It allows him to just react, and then react again, and then react again. And in our society, there's a certain amount of consistency. There's a certain amount of importance on consistency, regularity, normalcy, stability that allows our economy, allows our functions to function well, our systems, I should say, to function well. And think about anything that we all do. When there's consistency and there's regularity, we're able to then plan and plot out how we're going to deal with our day to day. The market's instability has let's put it this way. The instability and the chaos of the Trump administration is causing market instability on a domestic level and international level. That's part of the reason why so many countries are pulling away. It's not just the tariffs, guys. We have another clip I wanted to play on that, but we're not going to have the time to get it in right now. But it's not just the tariffs. It's that other countries are looking at and saying, I don't know if we want to deal with the U.S. right now until they figure out how they're going to get rid of the big orange baby. It's how the instability of this economy is causing them to say, maybe our investments in the U.S. need to be pulled back a little bit, or we need to kind of sit on this decision until they figure it out. That is a reality. And I do like the new label, and Kurt Mullett mentioned it briefly yesterday. But taco trade, Trump always chickens out. Wow. I'm going to leave you with that and take this quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. It's the Credo Mobile phone and text line. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. When Pearl Harbor was attacked, men of all races across the country volunteered to join the fight, despite the United States Army being heavily segregated. Black enlistees were mostly assigned to combat support roles. But this did not stop Lieutenant Colonel Paul L. Bates, who knew of the racism and pushed his soldiers to achieve excellence. The 761st Tank Battalion was formed in the spring of 1942. It contained 30 black officers, 6 white officers, and 676 enlisted men. The unit donned the nickname the Black Panthers, wearing patches on their uniforms with a panther on it and the slogan, "Come Out Fighting." And in 1944, the 761st was assigned to General George Patton's Third Army in France. General Patton gave a colorful speech to his crew, and the Black Panthers became the first African-American tank squad in World War II. And by the end of the war, the Black Panthers had fought further east than every other United States unit, receiving 391 decorations for their heroism.
From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at AmazonBusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. The American flag has been raised outside of the long-shuttered ambassador's residence in Damascus. AP's Charles de Ledesma has more.
Syrian state-run news agency Sana says U.S. Ambassador to Turkey Tom Barak has arrived to inaugurate the residence in Damascus. He has also been appointed special envoy to Syria. Washington hasn't formally reopened its embassy in the capital city, which closed in 2012 after protests against the government of then-President Bashar Assad. Assad was unseated in December in a lightning rebel offensive. But Barak's visit and the raising of the flag are significant signals of warming relations. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the Trump administration will begin revoking the visas of some students from China. In an AP interview, university student Deng Zhifei says in Mandarin it's not a good thing that they are refusing foreign students the opportunity to study in the U.S. because international students represent the cultural exchange between countries. Hong Kong has said it would welcome students from all over who were impacted by the U.S.'s changing policies to study in the city. AP correspondent Donna Warder reports on pre-markets reacting to a judge's block of President Trump's tariffs.
Financial markets are welcoming a federal court's ruling that blocks President Donald Trump from imposing sweeping tariffs on imports under an emergency powers law. S&P futures were up 1.5% and Dow futures up 1.2%. In trading in Asia, Japan's Nikkei jumped 1.9%. The court ruling also pushed the dollar sharply higher against the Japanese yen. The three-judge panel ruled on several lawsuits, saying that Trump exceeded his authority. Many of Trump's double-digit tariff hikes were paused for up to 90 days to allow time for trade negotiations. I'm Donna Warder.
This is AP News. A little girl receiving life-saving medical care in the U.S. has had her humanitarian parole revoked.
Lawyers for a 4-year-old girl from Mexico who was brought to the U.S. for medical treatment say she could die within days if immigration officials follow through on a deportation notice.
She is here in the United States with her parents on humanitarian parole.
Gina Amato, the directing attorney of Public Counsel's Immigrants' Rights Project, spoke at a news conference in Los Angeles.
Deporting this family under these conditions is not only unlawful, It constitutes a moral failure.
The little girl has short bowel syndrome, but she's been able to leave the children's hospital thanks to a treatment that provides intravenous nutrition through a backpack she wears. Attorneys say they have written to U.S. government officials asking if they made a mistake. A senior Homeland Security official said the family's more recent application for parole that was filed 2 weeks ago is still being considered. I'm Jennifer King.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, becoming partly sunny, we'll have high temperatures climbing up into the lower 70s. We'll have our winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, we'll drop back to a low of 52. For Friday, a mixture of clouds and sunshine, chance for some scattered afternoon showers and storms up to 77. Then lots of sunshine for your Saturday, mid-70s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 55.
Summer's here, and you can now get almost anything you need for your sunny days delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get a chicken parmesan delivered. A cabana? That's a no. But a banana? That's a yes. A nice tan? Sorry, nope. But a box fan? Happily, yes. A day of sunshine? No. A box of fine wines? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to the show, 773-763-9278. Stay tuned for our WCPT progressive lineup. That includes the Stephanie Miller Show, my radio sister on the West Coast, the Tom Hartman Show, professor of everything progressive, Joan Esposito live, local and progressive, and her great guest today, and of course, Patty Vasquez, driving you home, my bookend at the end of our day. And of course, make sure to catch the Politics Bar as well. Our good friend Jody Hamilton will be kind of bringing you the updates. But for now, one of our other great partners in crime is someone that you guys have heard here on our show that's also been a big ally of mine from the family meeting, as well as when I've been away every now and again, has been able to land her rocket ship here and sit in for me when I've taken a couple days away. And that would be the giggling none other than Michelle Peltier. Good morning, Michelle, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, my friend Richard Chu.
How are you this morning?
I'm happy now that I have a rocket ship to land. That's fantastic.
Well, I said that with intention because yours isn't going to explode and, like the Muskie Rats one, SpaceX.
Honey, I don't even know why they test them. I mean, they need to fix the Cybertruck first or whatever the heck it's called.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a clip. This was a few months ago, and it was of a guy. He narrated it by saying that they were showing the Cybertruck not being able to really tow anything effectively, and then it showed like a 1975 Ford F-150 pulling a small jet. Towing a small jet, and it was I can't remember all the details of it. I'm sure somebody out there has seen that clip that was, in the eyes, or out there for our eyes to see. But it was kind of a funny one to see the difference between the two. But anyhow, I digress, because you dragged me down that alley. You did.
I'm sorry, because I'm sorry.
Well, but I actually started it by saying Michelle's going to, every now and again, land her rocket ship here out at WCPT and come on in and bring us some knowledge and all that. But yes, you have a rocket ship. I just signed off on it, and there you go. You can fly it all around the place, and I doubt that it's going to explode like SpaceX just did. Isn't it like the sixth? I don't know. It's numerous times that it's happened. Let me look at my notes here. But this isn't the first time it's happened. But yet we keep talk about stupidity with the insanity thing. Keep doing the same thing over again, expecting a different result. But here we are. So, hey, Michelle, thanks for being with us this morning. And you guys, one of the things that Michelle and I, we talk a lot about what's happening in our crazy world. And there's always something that is going on it's an issue it's a never-ending issue. And Michelle is great at identifying some things that, we can talk around, but every now and again we have to kind of put a few minutes into a little bit more detail, orientation into a conversation. And this week, earlier in the week, I talked with Dante King about discrimination. And we were talking about it in a more broad sense as it relates to racial discrimination. And Michelle and I were discussing this, and she said, I want to just put some bullet points on what I see as discrimination right now, not right now, but in this conversation, in this moment, when it comes to discrimination, that's sexual discrimination against and towards women. So Michelle's got a few points that she wants to make, a few things that she wants to talk about as she parks the rocket ship this morning.
Well, discrimination. I think one of my main concerns, Richard, in terms of what's going on right now, are the women that are part of this administration and how much they concern me. Because they're not women's women. A friend called them Stepford Trumpers, and I thought that was perfect.
Has she created a hashtag for that?
I'm going to. I told her I was going to steal it.
There you go.
But they go along to get along, and they're not women's women, and I feel like they're dangerous. So in terms of discrimination, they discriminate against other women that aren't like them. And if you look at the women in his administration, and actually, if you look at them on paper, they seem pretty normal and accomplished until, if you look at just their straight resumes or, their VTAs or whatever, they seem pretty accomplished and pretty normal. But for the most part, they are sycophants, they are dangerous, and they're concerning to me. I mean, from Susie Wiles to,
And tell people who Susie Wiles is. She's kind of flown under the radar a little bit, and her father is an interesting name that a lot of people may recognize. But talk about Susie Wiles and what you've seen in her. But she's been flying under the radar, but causing hell and destruction at the same time.
Yeah, she's been around for a while. She is DT's White House Chief of Staff. She began her career working for Jack Kemp, and I remember Jack. I liked Jack actually. She was a scheduler for Ronald Reagan, and she also worked for Tilly Fowler.
Yeah.
And she was appointed Chief of Staff to the Jacksonville Mayor, John Delaney. So she's been around for a while, but she's a taskmaster too, I understand. Another quality all these women have is they're mean. They're mean girls.
Well, I've said this to you, and we've talked about this in private. So Susie Wiles is also, she's a daughter of the late broadcaster Pat Summerall, which a lot of people may remember that name. But she's flying under the radar right now but one of the implementors and very connected to Project 2025, but more specifically the Heritage Foundation and their part with Project 2025. So I played a clip yesterday at the end of the show. You didn't vote for Trump, and that clip was highlighting what people voted for, and meaning the people that they voted for that are behind the curtain. And Susie Wiles is one of those people that's behind the curtain, pulling the puppet strings, as the phrase goes, and a woman. And this is where I had this conversation with Michelle. Let me give you guys a little bit of a predicate. I have said to Michelle on a number of occasions, there's a lot of things that I want to say about the women that are in this administration, but I don't say them with the coarseness that runs through my mind to say it, because I don't want to sound like I'm sounding like a guy who's being discriminatory and who's being sexist, or who's being someone that's beating up on women. But Susie Wiles is one of those taskmasters, to use Michelle's wording, that doesn't really give a darn about the people that are being hurt by the implementation of some of these executive orders and this big ugly bill that's coming down the pike. Let's talk about that as it relates to the mean girl factor with other women, McMahon and Noam and KKK, also known as Caroline.
We got Carolyn, Pam, Tulsi, Christy, Linda, McMahon, and honestly, Lori Chavez DeReamer.
DeReamer, yeah.
Alina Haba, our favorite wonderful person, and Kelly Loeffler.
Yep.
And Brooke Collins. All of them in their own right, as I said, on paper, they look accomplished. But in the reality of the situation, like the Pam Bondys and the Tulsi Gabbards, I mean, what? When they get on the television or do interviews, that's when they start to sound just completely out of touch. And their actions show the same. So, I mean, when I use the term concerned, Richard, I say that because I'm concerned about how they represent all women. And all women, they are a minority of women when it comes to their demeanor, their behavior, their philosophy, right? But now they're on this world stage and they're having an impact, and I am troubled for our young girls, our young women, and what they see, and if they think that they should emulate that behavior, that demeanor, to be successful. And that's where I land on it. I feel like they're all dangerous, and I'm really concerned about it.
Lack of care is one of the things that comes to mind when you talk about this as it relates to other young women that follow them. But let's put the kind of a stamp on the age window here. I mean, I think that Susie Wiles is in her late 60s. Am I right about that? Late 60s, early 70s. So she's been around a minute, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. But then Caroline Levitt is
12.
I thought she just turned 13.
She may be a teenager now. I'm not quite sure, but yeah.
But there, to your point about younger women coming up and coming through, Caroline Levitt chronologically is could be the daughter of Susie Wiles.
Yes.
Okay. So that's where I step back and look at this and go, that is a little scary. That is a lot concerning, to use a Susan Collins phrase, because we're talking about a broad age band in this administration that has based on their actions, y'all, because I've really worked hard to not always say something about somebody in terms of name calling. I work hard to not do that. Every now and again, I will slip up and it'll happen. But based on their actions, they don't give a darn about the outcomes for women. And that's concerning, that's troubling, but it's also just flat out stupid. Because and again, some people might say, but Richard, Michelle, they don't care because they don't need to care. And that's the part that's
wrong. Yeah.
So
we all need to care about each other. This is where I feel like we are, and this is what's so troubling to me, is that there is such division, Richard. Right? I don't think that those women are going to bring other women along. Right, and actually, I don't want them to.
That's what I wanted you to say. I didn't want to put those words in your mouth, but I wanted you to say that so that me as a guy, I don't get in trouble for saying that.
Yeah, we don't want other ones like them at all, but they're still out there, and people are still looking at them, and people are emulating them. I'm sure right now, in this moment, people are reading about Tulsi Gabbard and thinking she's the best thing since sliced bread, and another young girl wants to be like her, and that's dangerous.
Yeah. Susie Wiles is 68 years old, and someone just sent me a text that says that KKK could be a granddaughter.
Yes, it's true. Oh my God. Oh my, and what? And I'm sorry, but I have to say, what is her husband, like 30 years older than her or something?
Something like that. I think he's in
all of that is just very strange. It's all very strange.
Hey, listen, what's the phrase? We can't be hypocritical in that you love who you love, or however we want to play that out. that part. Okay, I'll say what I'm going to say about that in a somewhat of a joking way, but that's their business. I could care less about that. What I really care about, though, is that this is a woman who is not qualified for the position. See, this is the other thing that you've touched on, Michelle. The women that are in these roles, other than, say, Susie Wiles as chief of staff, which tells you a lot about who's running the show here and what they really voted for. But the other women that you listed, none of them are qualified to be in the role that they're in with the level of importance that those roles have on how our country functions. None of them are. There are more qualified, and we don't have to say there's more qualified men. There's more qualified women actually in the Republican Party to do those same jobs. And we could line up, we could build an Excel spreadsheet of who is more qualified in the Republican Party. If the Trump administration's got to have a Republican in those jobs, than the women that are in these roles. So many of these are favored, political favor positions.
I'm going to say something that's it's if I can remember it. Darn it. It was so good. It was so good, and I just lost it.
It'll come back to you. We're talking with Michelle Peltier, one of the co-hosts of the Family Meeting, and my ally who is here and sitting in when I am taking a break to kind of get my energy levels back. Michelle, it's great to be with you. I know you had a brain fog, just like those of us who are of a certain age are allowed to have. But if we could build an Excel spreadsheet of other Republican women.
That's what it was.
Okay. What was it? Talk now.
Okay, yes. Okay, so this is a Republican just kind of a thing. It's a Republican thing that if they see something on the Democratic side, for instance, I'll use Chicago as an example, when Barack Obama ran for that Senate seat the first time. And if you remember, not the first time, but when he ran for the United States Senate seat, and all of the Republican opponents just imploded. Do you remember that?
I do.
And who did they bring in? Do you remember? Alan Keyes.
Alan Keyes.
Okay. So what that told me in that moment was they see the color, they don't see the accomplishment. So they're going to bring in a man who is a black man, and he's going to run against another black man, and we're going to win because he's a black guy, right? Mm-hmm. That's the same thing they do with everything. It's what they do with women. It's why they picked Sarah Palin to be the vice president. How many Republican women were more qualified than Sarah Palin? But they picked her because she was sassy, she was attractive, and she was mean.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
And what are all of these women now? For the most part.
The word
sassy, some attractive, and freaking mean.
Yeah. And
not very smart.
And mean. Well, see, listen, I can handle mean. There's a difference between being mean and being tough. I mean, I prefer tough over mean. Meanness doesn't get me anywhere. Meanness is not a quality that I can ever embrace myself or be drawn to with any person. If somebody's mean, I don't want to be around them because I know it's going to come out in me. I'll go from, using a ball peen hammer to a sledgehammer in a heartbeat if I'm around somebody that's mean. So to that end, the meanness part isn't necessary, but I think, this is just me, that part of the attraction for the Republican Party is to have these, quote, mean women in these roles, because they think that that the Democratic women are not going to stand up to them. But do I have a message for that?
Come on, now what? They need to ask somebody about that.
I could be wrong. So for somebody that's listening, going, "No, sure, you're wrong about that." I think that's part of it, but I think it's also because they think that meanness is toughness, and that meanness is going to give this representation to the audience that the Republican Party is tough. And it also is a reflection of Donald Trump wanting to have mean people in his cabinet, mean voices in his cabinet. And the women, these particular ones, are more mean visually than some of the guys are.
Oh my gosh. I mean, KKK, whatever. She's awful. She's just awful, and they're arrogant, right? There's also a smugness and an arrogance about them, and
Privilege.
Yes, and I just, it's so unnecessary. All of it is so unnecessary. But what is a bully, Richard? A bully is somebody that's really a scared person who has to put on this front so that nobody knows. They don't want to be revealed, in other words. And I think all of these people are like that. I think that that's why they're so loud and brash about it, because they don't want to be discovered.
Yeah.
Not understanding that we already know.
Well, this is a good example. What you just said is perfectly laid at the feet of Kristi Noem and the numbers of people in the hearings that just drilled her to death on the not understanding of habeas corpus and how it's actually written and then implemented. And it showed how she's not capable for this job. There's a number of senators that kind of went down the road that I would have gone down. I would have said, you should resign. You don't know what the hell you're doing. Some of them said their versions of it, which is you don't seem to be capable for the moment in this job, blah, blah, blah. McMahon is the same thing. You know, how do you get A1 mixed up with AI?
She did it even after that one instance.
Right.
So her staff doesn't like her either.
So
because, you know, if your staff's not telling you, correcting you, you go out in public and do it one more time. I'm telling, and the lack of curiosity, I think that's another problem. And that's not just the women, that's the whole administration. They don't know, they don't study what their job is.
Right.
Right? They're just really lazy about it. They don't research it. They just come in, and RFK Jr. is a perfect example of that. And it's just, I don't know, it's all just crazy. But the women really concern me because of the next generation of women that are coming up that are watching them.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too, to that point, and I don't want to forget what you said earlier about this. I mean, if this is a template of what that group could look like going forward, we definitely have to make sure we push them out of the mainstream politically, because that is a horrible look. And, you know, but at the same time, you know, Michelle, there's a part of my brain that goes, it may be a horrible look, but there's a lot of people that are attracted to that meanness, that nastiness. If you think back to some of the Trump rallies leading up to the election,
Mm-hmm.
there were very few times that I saw, you know, the Jordan Kleppers of the world that went out and did interviews, or any other, even, you know, quote unquote, regular mainstream media journalists that did interviews of people at Trump rallies, where the people, but we're talking specifically women, so nobody get upset with me for what I'm about to say, none of them seemed particularly kind and welcoming. The women that were showing up at the Trump rallies, the ones that were interviewed oftentimes were caustic and mean and don't give a damn personalities. And that there's a part of why these women that you've listed in the administration probably have an appeal, because like I said, again, Trump wants to have meanness and derision be more part of his administration than being welcoming and bringing people in to the fold. Mm-hmm. And these women represent that.
Yeah, and let me be clear. I'm talking about some personality traits, but I think what's really important is the damage that they're doing while they're holding these offices.
Mm-hmm.
And that matters. It really matters. Of course, their demeanor's truly awful, but what they believe in terms of how it affects women, it's not pro-woman at all. It's not really pro-people, but it's especially not pro-woman.
Yeah. And as I said earlier, guys, Michelle and I had this conversation, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to be the one that dipped my toe in the water and saying that is there.
That's why I'm here. I'll do it.
I said, Michelle, that's on you. I'm not going to do it. But no, guys, as always, it's great to have Michelle as part of the crew. She is part of the crew, and she's an integral part of what we're doing here at WCPT. As a co-host of the family meeting on Sundays with Eric Grant, as well as being here to fill in for me and partner with me when it comes to the times that I stepped away from the show for a few days. It's great to have you around, Michelle, have your voice, and as always.
Well, before you let me go, let me just congratulate you on John Ewing. That's very cool. And David Jolly, too?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm thrilled.
I'm a fan of both of them. So congratulations. That's great.
Well, thank you. And obviously the benefactors of this are going to be our listeners. David Jolly is, I can't wait to talk to him tomorrow. I'm very excited about that and looking forward to it. And I confess right out of the gate, that I won't geek out too hard. But it's what he's doing that matters right now that I think is so incredibly important, and the shift that he's made.
I was going to say, I've watched his journey, and it's been incredible. The only thing that disappoints me is that he cut off his goatee.
Well, okay, you've got to text me a reminder that I'll mention that to him tomorrow as a little bit of levity in the conversation. And I'm also excited about talking with John Ewing, who is a new mayor-elect in Omaha. So that's going to be really great to have him on.
You're doing the Lord's work, my friend. You're doing the Lord's work.
Well, I'm trying. Just trying to do my best every day, giving you the best that I got, to quote the great songstress Anita Baker. So,
yeah.
Michelle, thank you for landing that rocket with us. I know the building's going to rumble in a moment as you start to take off and go land someplace else.
Yes, got to go to the store.
Well, be careful, my dear. Have a great day. I know we'll be talking in the next day or so and getting ourselves ready for next week. So thanks so much for being here, Michelle. And I'm probably going to land my little puddle jumper at the family meeting on Sunday. So.
We miss you. I miss you. We haven't seen you in 2 months.
All right, I guess I got to keep that commitment then. So
yeah, I keep track.
Stay tuned, guys. We're going to take a quick break. Thanks, Michelle Peltier, for being with us. Moments with Michelle,
Bye,
guys.
Henry.
All right, take care, dear. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. 773-763-9278. That is a Credo mobile phone and text line. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is Tony Moray. I'm an estate planning lawyer who drafts living trusts and wills. Since the election, I've been hearing from my clients, many of them fellow WCPT listeners. And we all wonder, how did this happen and what can we do? The how is, of course, very complicated. My thoughts as regard to what we can do is simple but important. We need to take extra care of those we love. Having an estate plan using either a living trust or will can provide comfort in uncertain times like these. When the progressive values we hold dear are under attack, I feel we must make sure that our personal lives are secure and then work out from there. I've been drafting estate plans for my clients for over 30 years, and I will use all of that experience to help you. Please call me at 847-996-0496. My website is moreylawoffice.com. That's Morey spelled M-O-R-E-E. Again, the phone is 847-996-0496. There is no cost or obligation for our initial discussion. I look forward to speaking with you.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, becoming partly sunny, we'll have high temperatures climbing up into the lower 70s. We'll have our winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, we'll drop back to a low of 52. For Friday, a mixture of clouds and sunshine, chance for some scattered afternoon showers and storms up to 77. Then lots of sunshine for your Saturday, mid-70s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 55.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to Choose Views. Of course, our number here, our Credo mobile phone and text line is 773-763-9278. Change makers, guys, that's who we need and how we win elections going forward. There's a template that I think can be followed by many Democrats that are running for the first time at all levels, and certainly Democrats who are currently in office that are going to be up for re-election. And that template, that reset has taken place most recently by a gentleman that you guys didn't know about nationally, but you do now, and that will be none other than the mayor-elect of Omaha, Nebraska, John Ewing Jr. Good morning, Mr. Ewing, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Oh, my goodness. I have this big smile on my face. It's an ear-to-ear grin like the Joker from Batman. Because
that's awesome.
I'm so honored to have you on our show. I know our listeners all over the country have been looking forward to hearing your voice. There are a couple of clips of you that I wanted to play, but I figured I'd save them for the next time we have you on. But there's a couple of pictures of you, and one of the acceptance speeches or congratulation speeches that you gave the night of the election, where you looked at a couple people in the audience and you had that look on your face like, we did it. We actually got it done. And I've seen some of those stills of you, and there's a look on your face like, this is a journey that I've been on for my adult life, and all the different venues and paths that I've gone down has brought me to this moment. So if you could, and I'm going to refer to you as Mayor-elect John. I may call you John every now and again. You and I are chronological contemporaries, happen to both be April babies. But just tell the audience what it was like to that moment when you got the news and you saw this actually happen. What was that feeling like?
It was amazing because I did reflect on the journey that I've been on for 43 years, almost 43 and a half years of public service. And it really was a culmination of all of that, and just a great moment for our community as well as my family, and then me personally as well. During the campaign, I felt like I had the hopes and dreams of a lot of people on my shoulders, and I embrace that because I know how important it is that people feel like they have someone that will represent them in elected office. And so that's what I've tried to do, and that's the message that I tried to send to people, and we had an overwhelming victory.
Yeah, John, Mayor Ewing, what's so incredible, there's so many things that are incredible about you winning this, and that's why I said the journey, because I looked back and I said, you and I are chronological. When I say chronological contemporaries, people, I mean, John and I are the same age. But what was so cool about this win is that it shocked. It was a moment. It was a Muhammad Ali moment in many ways in mayoral politics. You shocked the world.
Wow.
I mean, I'm serious. People, let's be honest, y'all. This is Omaha, Nebraska. This is not Chicago, Illinois. This is Omaha, Nebraska. So we know, and we have to lean into this. It's the first time a Democrat's been elected to the mayor's office since 2009, if I'm correct. And there's never been an African-American, male or female, elected to mayor of Omaha. That's a big deal. And you said something a moment ago about the shoulders that on your shoulders, but you and I stand on the shoulders of so many people, and our ancestors are saying, way to go. And the Democratic Party is saying, way to go. So how does that part of it feel as it relates to this wonderful accomplishment?
For me, it's amazing. And part of it is thinking about a little bit about my history. As you know, Omaha is known as the Blue Dot. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is I was co-chair of the Blue Dot effort in 2008 to get President Barack Obama the Blue Dot here in Omaha for the first time ever. So since then, a lot of people in our community have talked about my wife and I being the Barack and Michelle of Omaha. And so, you think about those things, and you think about our history, and you think about the opportunities that we have today is really built on all of the sacrifices that other people have made. So it genuinely is an honor to be able to represent our community, but also our ancestors, because I would not have this opportunity had they not made the sacrifices. And that's what I try to remind our young people of, is there have been a lot of people that have made sacrifices for us to have the opportunities that we have today.
Absolutely. So well stated. So let me ask you this question. You're the incumbent, Gene Stothart, had been there and predicted by many people, by many polling people, many analysts, many political strategists to win. And I think as much as we talk about the fact that you are African-American male that won this election, you're the first Democrat in a number of years in the blue dot. But she was expected to win. It was almost kind of given to her. What did you do? What are some of the things, I should say, that you did to say, no, that's not where we're headed this time? What was it that you said we can approach this differently? How was that accomplished?
Sure. Well, the first thing is I knew that the people of Omaha knew me. I've been in public service now. This is my 44th year. I started as a 20-year-old kid in the police academy, rose to the rank of deputy chief, then became the first African-American in Nebraska's history to actually win a countywide election when I was elected to Douglas County Treasurer in 2006. So I've been in public office for a long time. One of the things I learned during my time at the police department and also my time as treasurer is that people really want good government. They want their government to provide them excellent service. They want their government to be responsive and provide the services they want in the way that they want. And so we did a lot of surveys of the people of Douglas County, which Omaha is a part of, over the years to see what they wanted from the treasurer's office. Then we delivered. So I have a track record of delivering what the people say they want. So as we started this campaign, we truly listened to what the people of Omaha were talking about. And then my message for the entire campaign was intentional economic development, decent and affordable housing, helping to fix public transportation, making sure that our basic services were up to par and met the needs of the citizens of this community. And those messages resonated with the people of the community because they knew that I had delivered in the past. And so that's all we focused on, while the other campaign did a few things that tried to basically attack my record of service. We were able to show her words showing that she was praising the work I did, and then just played that back to people. And then the other thing we did was we tied her, since she had endorsed Trump 3 different times, we tied her to the chaos that is going on in Washington, D.C.
So, first of all, kudos to listening to the community, listening to the folks that need the job creation the most, the affordable housing, expanding the urban core and building out from within, but listening to the people that ultimately said, this is who we want as our new mayor. But let me ask you this it's got kind of a 2-part question. Since you mentioned Trump, how are you going to the best of your ability, navigate the chaos from the federal administration, federal government, and the Trump administration when it comes to the cuts that are taking place, that are happening, that are affecting? I mean, you're in Omaha, so Omaha is when people think of Omaha, probably one of the first things that comes to mind, or Nebraska at large, is farming. How are you going to navigate this on a city level that will benefit the folks of Omaha?
Sure. I think the first thing that we have to do in city government is provide stability and certainty. As we see what is happening on the federal level, if we can provide that certainty and we can provide that stability, then we can then work together as a community to help navigate through any challenges. So what I've been able to do in my time in elected office and even my time at the police department as a leader is always stay calm, assured, reasonable, and make sure that people trust what we're doing and that we're listening and that we are taking on the policies that people want. And then one of the other things I've looked at is, quite honestly, if you look at a lot of the things that have happened and then people have challenged the current administration in court, they've actually won. So I have no problem doing whatever it takes to try to ensure that Omaha is not a victim of whatever is going on nationally or even across the state of Nebraska.
That's powerful.
So you have to be willing to fight for and with the people of your community.
Yeah. So what is it that's great, unique, and wonderful about your community of Omaha, Nebraska? What is it when you sit back, you lean back in your chair and go, this is what I love about my community? What would that be?
The thing I've been talking to people about quite a bit is this. Omaha is a city that has a can-do attitude. So we are able to determine what we want to do and then get it done. And I'll give you the example that I'm most proud of is, as a deputy chief, I became part of an effort called the Empowerment Network, and I was co-chair of the Crime Prevention Covenant. Our goal was to work together and reduce violence in our community, gun violence in particular. And by working together with the community and all of the law enforcement folks across the spectrum, we've been able to reduce gun violence in Omaha by 70%. And speaking of President Barack Obama, we are one of 4 model communities in the entire country that are recognized as model communities because of that work. But that was an example of the can-do spirit. We didn't look at it and look at the obstacles. We didn't look at it and say it was impossible. We looked at it and said, let's get it done. So that's what I love most about Omaha is our can-do spirit. And that's what I'm talking to people about now as we look at what are our future goals, what do we want to be known for, and we've got a lot of other great things, but I think that's the thing I love the most, that can-do spirit.
Yeah, I wrote that down because I thought, man, that's a slogan that's part of that is definitely going to resonate with the folks in your community. We are talking with Mayor-elect of Omaha, Nebraska, John Ewing Jr., and his recent victory as the newly elected mayor for the great city of Omaha, Nebraska. You, Mayor Ewing, have stepped into a unique fraternity of African-American mayors. And there are some legendary mayors throughout the country that are African-American, and that you are now part of that fraternity. Right here in Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson, who, as I say, is catching hell and delivering punches at the same time as a mayor of a big city, period, that happens to be African-American. And there's others throughout the country that done. I mean, you and I remember when we were growing up, one of our signposts of mayors was Tom Bradley in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And so, he's a guy that you and I can look back when we were in our teens and 20s and go, he was a first. And now you are first. You're in that fraternity. How does that feel?
When you look at it that way, it's amazing. You grow up in a city, and I'm a lifelong resident of Omaha, Nebraska, and I've been blessed to be part of this city. I've been blessed to be part of leadership for quite some time, and you hope that you might have an opportunity like this. And so it's really amazing. I'm excited about the challenge. I'm excited about the responsibility and the need to deliver results. So I'm just doing everything I can to ensure that everybody understands Omaha is a great place, and we want people to come here. We want people to visit. We want people to set up opportunities for companies to come here, people to create jobs. This is an amazing city and an amazing opportunity that we have that we are going to take advantage of, and we're going to do some great things here. So I look at it as tremendous opportunity, tremendous responsibility, tremendous honor. Now let's get to work.
Let's put that can-do-it spirit to work. In the stills, photographs, and some of the videos that I've seen since the election night, there's this great picture of you with your wife Viv, and I know that she's been an integral part of this journey. How is she feeling, thinking, being right now with this new direction? And you're going to take office in June. Your term starts in June. How is she feeling in this process?
Well, we've been married almost 41 years, so she's been an amazing part of this journey. Even when I first started, we were friends in college, and so she literally retired so that she could work on this campaign with me day after day after day after day. And she is thrilled to be part of the victory, and then thrilled to be part of this whole effort that we put together as a team. We were a mighty campaign that was small. We didn't have a huge number of national consultants or anything like that. We ran a true grassroots campaign. We worked harder than anybody else, and she was there right beside me the whole time. So she's honored to be part of this as well and to be the First Lady of Omaha. And I know she's excited for our city and what we can do as well. And then our girls were a big part of the campaign as well, with all of the social media stuff they helped with. My social media person said, "John, stay off social media." But what I would do is have our girls, when I saw something that I thought was good, hey, share this to all the different Blue Dot groups and all these groups so that they see it. And so this was a team effort, and certainly was a family effort with my wife and our two daughters.
That's fantastic to hear, Mayor Ewing. What would you say, as we wrap up? I have two more little questions. One of them is, how do Democrats on a national level, you referenced President Obama a couple times, what would you say are a couple of things that Democrats on a national level can do to start to take back, some offices on a state level, on a national level, everything in between? What would you, if you sat back and said, here's what we probably need to be thinking about?
Sure. The first thing is we have to listen to the people and meet them where they're at. We can't be viewed, because sometimes nationally we're viewed as a party that's out of touch. I don't believe that's the case, but that's the way we're viewed. And I think that is a very clearly cultivated image of the party that the Republican Party wants to put out there. So we have to combat that by listening to the people, meeting them where they're at, and then really start to focus on quality of life issues. We focus on issues sometimes that are very important, but when it comes down to voting, people want to know that there's going to be opportunities for jobs. They want to know that there's going to be opportunities for housing so that they can provide decent and affordable housing for their families. They want to know that their streets, all of the infrastructure things are addressed, because those are the things that actually affect their lives more than anything else we can talk about. So the more we focus on their issues and get back to being the party for the working people of this country, the greater opportunity we have for electoral success. We focused on quality of life issues, and people responded. So I saw this number, and I hadn't really thought about it much, but we beat an incumbent mayor who had been in office for 12 years by 13%. She won her previous election by 30%. So we had a 43-point swing in this election because we focused on quality of life issues. Everything else is important, but you got to meet people where they're at. You've got to be at their kitchen table.
Yeah. Wow.
Looking at what impacts them.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm so thankful that you have been able to be with us this morning, and really an honor. We are going to make sure that we have you back on when it fits your schedule. I know that once your term starts next month, which is right around the corner, you're going to be running at top speed. But I know you're equipped for it, for the challenge. And it's exciting to hear what you have to say and the message that on a larger level, larger stage, needs to be heard by so many people. How can Mayor Ewing, if folks want to follow you, get in touch with you, be a part, even from across the country, of the work that you're doing in that blue dot, how can folks do that? How can they find you?
One of the things they can do is they can follow us on Facebook, John Ewing for Omaha, and then also on Instagram, John Ewing for Omaha as well. And we'll probably keep those pages up so that people can follow us and know what we're doing. And then I'll have to decide how we're going to do the city pages and things like that, if we're just going to have City of Omaha page, or if we're going to have a John Ewing mayor page. I'll figure out some of those things as I get in office, but I'm working hard every day for the people of Omaha, even as I transition from one office to the other. I've already hit the ground running, and as they say, I haven't let any grass grow under my feet.
Well, that is such a great way for us to wrap up today, Mayor Ewing. I'm excited about the work that you're going to get done for not only the folks there in Omaha, the state of Nebraska, the region, and the rest of the country, because you're one of the voices that has made it clear that when you listen to the people, then you can get things done. And I'm excited about this next chapter. I hope that you will be willing to be with us again and kind of give us a progress report of how things are going. And we certainly will have you be part of our team of voices that is making things happen.
Well, thank you for the offer, and absolutely, I'll be glad to come on and give an update and just talk about whatever's going on whenever you guys want to have me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mayor-elect John Ewing, for being with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time out. We wish you tremendous success beyond even the dreams that you had that you could put together. But thank you again for being with us. Have a great rest of the week, and kudos to you as you start your term next month.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity, and we certainly look forward to sharing more with your viewers as we go on.
Absolutely. All right, sir. Have a great day, and we'll talk with you soon.
You
Bye.
too.
Bye now. Bye-bye. Can I say wow? This is a clip. When we put this together, I'm sending it to a number of Democrats that have been on our show. Okay, let me just check that box right now. I'm going to post this clip. It's going to be a message that what's great about this, and I know we're running to the end of the show, so we're not going to be able to squeeze in our calls today. So we're going to have to, because I want to wrap up and say what I want to say about Mayor Ewing. First of all, what a privilege to have him on the show, first. Secondly, to be able to have him speak that way about his journey and what he's done is extraordinary. But the reason I made the point about us sharing this is he didn't have the big money. He said that. He didn't have the big staff. He said that. And he also didn't have a tremendous number of consultants in his ear telling him what to and not to do. Now, I'm not dragging on those who have all the things that I just listed. I'm saying that the component that he put down as the thing that really got him across the finish line was the fact that he talked to everyday folks. He met them where they are, as he said. We've heard that from a number of people. And I know that that's going to be part of. What he didn't say is that we didn't talk to them at all. He said, because he made it clear that He did not feel that we made a mistake or that we're making mistakes or that our ideas are not good. But he did point out that we do need to do more of talking to people where they are. So I think that for a African American man, and let's be honest, let me say this again. This man's skilled. He's got a history, a career of success. This just goes back to real quickly before we wrap up the importance of education and why it plays out. He holds a bachelor's degree in business administration and criminal justice and a master's degree in urban studies. So he's got the educational prowess as well. So as we wrap up today, I'm just thankful that Mayor-elect Ewing was willing to be on the show with us today and willing to share with us and everybody else that should be listening in the political conversation about how to get it done as we go forward. That's why I was so excited about having him on for you guys. This is a message that resonated in Omaha, Nebraska. So it can resonate and should in other parts of the country as we take back some state legislatures, we take back some mayor's offices, some governor's mansions, and our federal offices. This is a person that should be in the conversation. So kudos to him for that. Thanks to Michelle for being with us this morning, Michelle Peltier, Moments with Michelle. Thanks to Henry for putting up with the craziness as always and keeping us on the rails. And thanks to you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you. Take a deep breath and make your life count. We will see you tomorrow.
It's nice to know someone is on your side. Mark Drugs always has your back. No two dogs are the same. A dosage form or strength of medication that works for one dog may not work for another. A compounding pharmacy like Mark Drugs is here to help you with your pet's medication challenges. We'll be happy to help you when your pet is sick. After all, it can affect the whole family. That's why we give our four-legged patients customized medications to make it easier for them to take. For pet medication problems, first see your veterinarian. Then talk to your hometown independent compounding pharmacy, Mark Drugs. If you'd like to know more about the ways we can personalize medication for each individual patient, we'd be happy to help. We are a compounding pharmacy, which means we can prepare the medication prescribed